Welcome in, everybody, to another live edition of the Wisemen Say podcast. Ty Fisher alongside Jerald Lucas. Derik will be joining us here in a bit after he gets his technical difficulties straightened away. Jerald, my friend, how are you?
I'm doing good. Feeling good, living good. I'm breathing, right?
Hey, I think that's the best thing you can ask for and whatnot,
Yep.
Other than that, very short show today. About maybe
We
an
always
hour.
say that.
Huh?
We always say that.
Yeah, I know, right? Hoping to go for an hour 10. So on the agenda, we want to. Hey, I see him. There he is, Derik. Are you here?
Yes, I'm not lagging. It doesn't seem like. Am I lagging?
You're about
good.
2 seconds behind, but we'll deal with it. It is a-okay.
Maybe it'll catch up. Maybe it'll.
You're still in Vegas.
Yeah. Did you take your Chromebook to Vegas?
Away from Vegas.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah. How was Vegas, by the way?
It was good. We went to this brand new place at Planet Hollywood called Carmela's. They have like the vloggers and stuff started talking about it, and like a pasta place, wildly undercooked food, terrible, not worth the price.
Really?
So that is a recommendation I have, is to not go there, avoid it. Yeah, it wasn't very good. They had a speakeasy, which easily made up for it. It was a lot of fun. But we went to Best Friend, which I'm sure anybody watching who's ever been to Vegas has probably heard of at Park MGM. Incredible food. It was just amazing. But, I went to the Sphere. And the Sphere was the wildest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Did you go inside?
Yeah, we saw Postcards from Earth. So we saw a show. It was kind of like a movie Planet Earth type thing. But it is it's so overwhelming at first, at least for me, that I was it was so cool but it also felt like sensory overload because it's so big and so much is going on that it kind of freaks you out at first. I was sitting in a middle of a row, which I kind of hate always being in the I hate being in the middle of the row. And I was I could see how somebody could potentially freak out, or because you're so high up kind of get vertigo or something, because it was wild, but easily the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It was so realistic. It was insane.
I've been past it on the monorail when I went to NAB. It's a broadcasting convention at the convention center. And when I say that the Excalibur, I caught the monorail from MGM to the convention center, and I've gone past it multiple times. It's so big.
Oh, it is massive. We had to walk around the whole thing too. So it took forever to walk around it because we just got dropped off on the wrong side, I guess. I'm not really sure, but you realize it's not big giant panels. It's tiny little really small LEDs, but there's so many of them that from a distance they make a giant picture. But when you get up close, it's not connected panels. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, it's when I saw it for the first time, I was like, Jesus Christ. And the monorail just goes right past it, so you can literally see the panels itself, and I'm like, oh, that's what those things look like. Got it. Okay.
It's very trippy to see what it is.
Oh my God, it's amazing though. I love it. So excuse me, for tonight's show, recent matches, latest news, which we haven't heard anything. Chiva from SanDiego.Futbol will be joining us here in about 45 minutes to preview the upcoming matchup against newly minted MLS franchise San Diego FC. Once again, we always want to thank our supporters and listeners of the show for getting us the numbers that we are having today. We are about 18 subscribers away from 100 on YouTube. So if you have not already, go to our YouTube channel. If you are not there already, click that subscribe button, turn on post notifications to get notified whenever new content drops, whenever we go live. And we will be doing a giveaway of some Wisemen Say merchandise when we hit 100 subscribers. So be sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And fellas, why don't we just jump right into, I think, probably the most boring match that the Columbus Crew have ever played under Wilfried Nancy. And that is the 0-0 stalemate against the Houston Dynamo. Do you think the point was deserved, or did the Columbus Crew drop 2 points?
I'll let you go, Derek.
Derek's a bit of a delay. Yeah, let him go first.
Maybe.
I will be the first to admit I had all intentions of watching this, and when I was at the aforementioned Sphere show, it ended up they moved the time, so it started right as this game was starting. So I did not get to watch the beginning of it, and then they like carouseled us out all the way to like one of the Venetian or somewhere. So I didn't get to pull it up on my phone like throughout the entire game. So I thought I will watch this when I get back to my room later on. But then I started to see all of the all of the stuff online about how it was like the most boring game ever. And you know what? I don't typically ever do this, but I abstained from even watching it. I just said, you know what? I will just take what everyone's saying as it was not eventful, and I could probably spend my time doing something better at this point, and we got a point out of it, which I was happy to see. But I don't have a lot of analysis from it. I'll be the first to admit.
Hey, that's fine. You were in Vegas. Vegas is a time in itself. So you, my friend, chose the right choice in not watching anything when you got back.
We were stuck with breakfast food.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
Hey, it was
you only
actually
had breakfast food?
Yeah, kickoff was at 2:30, so they made breakfast for the media.
Oh, interesting. I never thought
it would have been cool if there was pancakes, okay?
He said stuck like he was forced to freaking eat it.
Well, I hadn't eaten anything from the night before, so
you you didn't have to though.
My body was forcing me.
Okay. Jerald, we were there. That was probably the most lackluster game I've ever seen under Wilfried Nancy. And I'm not blaming Nancy. I just think that was probably not the game in which we wanted to get a point out of.
I saw it was boring. Don't get me wrong. It was pretty boring. However, there were some key moments that the Crew were on the attack and they were getting by Houston, but Houston, if you can't stop them, just beat them. There should have been more yellows than what there was. In my opinion, because there were too many fouls and the official kept on, giving warnings. And it was like, are you serious? Like, Jason should have had a PK. Jason got hit upside the back of the head in the box, and they didn't want to send it to VAR.
That's frustrating.
So I mean, that could have opened up the scoring for everybody, for the team to build on that. But it just was like, it was honestly kind of hard because the official wasn't being consistent. And I'm going to say that even though it was a boring game, the official wasn't being consistent enough to where it pretty much dictated the game. Like, I'm just going to give warnings. And Jason took that knock to the back of the head, and it lingered with him till like the 60th minute when he got pulled out. And there were some other injuries that were, not really severe injuries, but you could tell that it was lingering for the game, but still doesn't, excuse I'm gonna say the poor, execution of the game plan.
Yeah. I kind of have mixed feelings on the Jason one. I mean, I can see how it's a penalty. I can see how it's not, but that's just me being devil's advocate.
That's just because you're a keeper.
It's not even that. It's because I've been around the sport for 20. What am I? 20? How old am I? 28?
I don't
23.
know.
I've been around the sport for 23 years. So,
and you're also a beer league ref too. So
it's kind of, growing up, I've come to see both sides of things, right? And having a friend of mine who is a USSF certified official, having lots of talks with him about stuff. So we kind of I kind of get an insight on things and whatnot. So that's just me. But I can also see how it can be a penalty because if I'm not mistaken, that's Griffin Dorsey that went up against Jason Russell Rowe. I've never liked Griffin Dorsey. Not gonna lie to you. I think he has a temper. I think he's too much of a hothead. So I've never liked him. He's like the new John Tolkien for me, right? But I also would like to. I would like to see, as Jerald put it, a little bit more consistency from John Freeman, the match official, right? As Connor said, I feel like Artur should have been sent off. I don't know how that wasn't dogs at the end of the game. It wasn't. There were two more defenders?
There was at least two more defenders there.
Two more defenders. So now you're looking at the what's it called? The criteria for a dog, so right? The direction, I feel like the direction of the play wasn't going towards goal, it was going towards the end line. So that kind of counts it out. Defenders, you have two more defenders in the area. So that also takes it out. The likelihood of a defender getting possession of the ball, I'd probably say it's about 50-50 if Artur doesn't foul him. And then what's the other one?
Quick question. What's a dog so?
Denial of obvious goal scoring opportunity.
Oh, okay. That's the first time I've heard of that. Okay.
Really?
Yeah, I've never heard of that term before.
Yeah. It's an acronym.
Or the acronym,
yeah. So I see why it wasn't a red, which is the right call.
Could it have been a yellow?
It was a yellow. He did get a yellow.
Okay.
That would fall under the criteria of stopping a promising attack, which is SPA, right? So that was a yellow. Connor says goalkeeper son on his head for Houston. Goalkeeper Andrew Tarbell, 2020 MLS Cup winner for the Columbus Crew. Also,
oh man,
didn't they just have a MLS Cup champion and Steve Clark?
Yeah,
he won a cup.
I thought he did. Maybe he might have been with the. No, he was. Wasn't he on the 15? When they lost
Steve
Seattle?
Clark was.
He was. He was.
It was
yeah.
Portland, not
of
Seattle.
that game, yeah.
Okay, Portland.
Yeah, because they got that freaking howler to Diego Valeri. God damn it. No.
So you get
No. He did win it. No. He did win an MLS Cup, I think.
With whom? I feel like you're right, and I can't think of who it is. He would have won if he was on Houston last year. He won the.
I'm looking it up right now. Steve Clark.
What's it called? The U.S. Open Cup he won last year because Houston won, didn't they?
Yeah.
So he did get that.
So, man,
I was a big Tarbell guy when they got rid of him. I wasn't like overly happy about that.
Really?
It's just funny because I mean,
DC. Who won it in 19? 19
Atlanta?
was no.
He wasn't on the LA one, was he? He wasn't a backup keeper for LA.
No. I feel like he won. I feel like he won
was
the MLS Cup.
He was with Portland from 2018 to 2021.
They didn't win a cup.
He was with DC United 2017 to 2018. Columbus 2014 to 2016.
Yeah. What, bro? I swear he's won a cup. He's won something.
Leagues
I just don't know what it is.
Well, he won the U.S. Open Cup last year
with Houston.
Yeah, I think so. I think he was Houston's
keeper.
Yeah. 2 years ago, because LA won it last year.
Oh, okay.
I think. Yeah, but you are right. Yeah, Houston.
Okay.
He did win US Open with Houston. That's what I'm thinking of. But I think in the long run, a point was probably the best case scenario against Houston, especially because of how Houston played 11 behind the ball and did not let Columbus get anything creative in the final third. Now the question is, I asked Nancy this in post game. Through the 3 league matches that the crew have played, he's made 2 subs, 1 sub, 2 subs, or 1-2-2. The lack of, I wouldn't say lack of substitutions, but do you guys think that the lack of substitutions made by Nancy is pretty much showing the depth of the squad?
I think a little bit. I mean, from the ones I've seen, of course, I can't speak to Houston as much, but from what I've seen so far, and a little bit of lumping the other ones in there, it doesn't seem like any other combination of people they would have put out there would have necessarily done, on paper, any better.
Yeah.
Unless someone comes in with hair on fire, which is great if so, but, I haven't seen anybody like take that type of role coming off the bench so far to think that would be the case.
I don't think it's a show of depth. I think it was at a certain point of the match when it got too late. I just think it was one of those where save it for LA. You got one in there. You brought in AZ for Jason. And it was like, okay, had the game dictated, because we were there and Nancy said it before. It's like going to a party. I can have a different view of how the party's going, but Ty can have a different view of how the party's going. So it's one of those, like, we might have seen one way, but he saw it another way. And so I think by, maybe not doing the subs like, we would normally see, or, in some matches, it just was one of those where at a certain point you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and save everybody for Tuesday, especially with the turnaround from Tuesday to go right back to Cali.
Mm-hmm.
So He's learning a little more with the match congestion, especially after last year, on doing certain things. Because even in some of those matches where we had a match on Wednesday, match on Saturday, match on Wednesday, match on Saturday, he was making 4 subs, 3 subs.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody would be too tired.
Yeah.
They would play on a Tuesday, and by the time Saturday comes around, they were tired. So it was like he's learning, how to tweak and be able to build his schemes with the match congestion. Something he didn't have in Montreal.
Yeah.
That's true.
Is there a reason why the guy from Nashville we signed isn't playing yet? What guy from Nashville? If you're referring to Lapalainen, it's because he suffered an injury, but I have no idea a guy from Nashville.
We did sign
Yes.
someone from Nashville. He
I
was
feel-
he was a free agent or whatever you want to call it. He was not in contract with anyone. But he played
Yeah,
for Nashville last year.
I remember that now.
I cannot remember his name.
Yeah, me neither. I cannot. Oh my god.
Which is not a great sign
Not
if
a
you
good
can't
thing.
even remember his name. No offense to the guy, but
Oh my gosh. I
I'm about
don't
to go
remember
back
that.
through.
I don't remember that. Oh my god, wait. Oh, Amar Sedic. Okay. Yeah, I do remember seeing that signing. Because I had absolutely nothing to write on them about. Yeah. I have no idea. That's a good question.
That is because I haven't seen him on the bench either.
My guess
really?
is probably still trying to get match fit. So possibly doing training off to the side. I have no idea. I haven't been to training in forever. But that's my guess. Probably just still getting match fit and trying to get integrated into the system. But that's just the best I can say. Really quick, still on the Houston game. What does it mean moving forward, this draw, before we transition into the Concacaf match?
A learning experience. Something to build on.
Mm-hmm.
Nazi has said it before. Nazi has said it before. You gotta face adversity, and it's how you respond to the adversity.
I think you'd rather have a game like that too now than. I mean, I guess if you're up really high on points and you have a game like this, you can kind of wash it away in the middle of the season or towards the end a little bit. But if you have it now, at least you can identify issues potentially or different things that just didn't work, and you're not too behind the 8 ball at this part of the season. That does make a massive difference, but at the same time, obviously you want to get multiple points out of a game like this. But I'm sure there's plenty to learn from it. Like Jerald said, I mean, it's kind of what can you take from it without we didn't lose, so that's good at least.
I here I go again, stirring drama on social media, I guess. I made a post on Twitter after the game. It was an observation, right? And everybody took it the wrong way.
Oh, I missed this.
Yeah.
Of all things.
I made an observation. I said, y'all are bitter. Go home. Get some alcohol. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. Right?
Oh, I bet it was bad, wasn't it?
It's 4:30 in the afternoon. It's a Saturday. The game just ended. Go home. Get some alcohol. Enjoy the day. Everybody is all in my mentions. Well, we have a right to feel this way. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, someone said, I feel like fans should be able to fan how they want. I said, I'm just making an observation. That's all I'm doing. It was just so bad. I was like, y'all are better. Just go home, get some alcohol, enjoy the day. Like, we got a point. Yeah, it was an ugly point, but enjoy the rest of the day. Like, it's a Saturday, and
We're still
everybody's
unbeaten.
all up in arms about my post and whatnot. And well, I pay my season tickets for the crew to sign players, and I don't pay to not watch the crew do anything. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, have fun. I'm gonna go play video games.
And this is
all
why
I'm
you do
doing.
not go down that rabbit hole.
See,
I have a
but see-
sickness I always get onto right after games, and I'm looking at everything, and it's just crazy. Like,
and
because
that's what the observation was. That's all I'm doing.
if we won that game 3-0, no one would say anything about not having signed a player or something. They would have been like, great, we won, and hopefully moved on from it. But I'm convinced that there are some people that unless you go get the biggest name that's humanly possible out there, they're not going to be satisfied, which is
Oh, yeah.
pretty par for the course at times with our fan base.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's sad because this fan base is just like I told my mom this. I feel like we were spoiled by the 2023 season.
We weren't even supposed to win that season if we were like following the trajectory of what we assumed would be the case. That was not supposed to be. Everyone assumed it was the year after when we learned the system. So we fast forwarded ahead, but it kind of put us in a bind with a lot of the fan base where they expect that at all times, when MLS, in my opinion, more than a lot of leagues that you look at now, the parity is way higher.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, the thing is, right, whose year was it supposed to be in 2023 to win the MLS Cup? I'll give you a hint. No, I'll give you a hint. They're 110.
Miami.
No, they're 110 miles south of Columbus.
FC
Cincinnati?
Kentucky.
Cincinnati, because they won the Shield that year.
Oh,
they won the Shield that year. That was
because
supposed
they
to be
had
their.
Bupenza, they had Barriel, they had Miazga, they had Hagelin, they had Wobodo.
That
they had it all.
Yep, that was supposed to be their year to win the cup. And when we went down 2-0 in the first half, that's when I looked at her. I was like, "Hey, fair play. They're good."
Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to be their year to win the cup, and all of a sudden we spoiled the party. So I think we were spoiled by the 2023 season, and then to not win the cup in 24, but we won a trophy. It doesn't matter if it's a Leagues Cup trophy or whatnot. People say it's a Mickey Mouse trophy because it's not Open Cup. It doesn't matter. We still won a trophy in 24. We're still a great team. Yeah. We're unbeaten still in 25. We can still turn the season around. Whether or not we make a signing is beyond me, right?
Yeah, I still got confetti from 2023 down in TQL. So,
that's fair. That's fair.
And I still have the memory of celebrating with Bez and Issa in the elevator. So
that's right.
Oh,
I remember that.
Sure. Yeah. Really quick. Why don't we just switch gears really quick and get our special guest on, as he's waiting in the lobby, and get the preview out of the way for the Battle of the Unbeatens. We welcome in from SanDiego.Futbol, Chiva. How are you?
Hey, how's it going? Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, sir. We
Loud
got
and
you.
Clear.
Perfect. How's it going?
It's another day in paradise.
It was warm here today for once. Everyone was outside in shorts and t-shirts. It was a good day.
Oh, what's the temperature over there?
It got like over 60.
That's about where we're at over here in San Diego.
It is currently 58, but it got up the high at 71 at some point today.
Oh, 71. Okay.
Yeah. Really quick, tell the people about you, SanDiego.Futbol, about you, and how you guys got to follow or cover the newly minted MLS expansion side.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, my co-host and colleague, Tony Sanchez, and I started our podcast, Two Balls and a Mic, 5 years ago, covering everything San Diego soccer related. And at the time, it was just really San Diego loyal in the USL Championship. And from there, we just kind of started covering. We started the podcast right before COVID struck and sports died. So from there, we kind of got creative and continued our weekly episodes with FIFA simulated game, CPU against CPU and whatnot, and doing a tournament like that, calling it the Community COVID Shield, just trying to keep the community together there.
I love that.
It was a lot of fun. Then San Diego Loyal, kind of the USL Championship started up again, and from there we got San Diego Wave into NWSL, and fast forward a couple more years, now we have San Diego FC. So what Tony and I like to do is we get media credentials with the teams, and our goal, we really just started this so we can get FIFA World Cup media credentials. And so far, we've been on the right track. We've gotten Concacaf Gold Cup, CONMEBOL, Copa America credentials. We got a credential for Manchester United and different teams like the U.S. Women's National Team, the Men's National Team. So it's been a journey so far, but we're new to MLS. And so far, we've been enjoying it. We do like to kind of not say that we're fans, because we're, at the end of the day, we try to keep it professional ourselves just as journalists. But other than that, I mean, we're fans of San Diego in general. And we support when a sports team in San Diego is performing well.
I'll give you one piece of advice for being new to MLS. And when you're in that press box and you're on a rain delay and you're sitting there for hours, don't let that fan come out, because it does get a little boring, and that fan side will come out when the ref doesn't make the right call.
I mean, I bet you saw that Snapdragon last week with the whole chant happening, right? So, so the fan base can already made a name for themselves in San Diego.
Well, I'm talking about the official not making a call or missing a call, and you've been sitting there for 4 hours on a rain delay.
He says that from experience. He got to know that.
I mean, I was at the Coachella Invitational couple of a month ago already, and I mean, I told my colleague, my friend Tony, is like, these are still CONCACAF refs. Like, they're still going to suck. Like, it doesn't matter if it's Liga MX, MLS, like, they're still CONCACAF.
So getting into actually San Diego itself first, it's very, I would say, reminiscent of when St. Louis joined the league a couple years ago. Starting off hot, what is it about Mikey Varas that is absolutely having this team click right now? Yeah, especially beating MLS Cup champions LA Galaxy.
Yeah, so I mean, it all goes back to the Right to Dream Academy, right? It's kind of like the model that the team is based off. You see it with FC Northland in Denmark. You see it with other teams in Africa. It's that play style of playing aggressive, trying to do the high press, playing out the back, but through the middle, which is a very unorthodox way to play the game, if I'm being completely honest. It's very nerve-wracking, just seeing the center back trying to play it straight through instead of opening it to the sides first and then kind of playing opposite as you're supposed to. But so far, it's worked. I think when the team was getting built, a lot of people said it was a mid-team and a bunch of nobodies. And I agreed. I was one of those people, right? So, I mean, in general, I think overall it's the way that they've kind of put together this team. And it was a lot of on Tyler Heaps, who's the sporting director and GM of the team. They kind of gambled a bit and said, hey, we're going to try to be a sneaky team, put a lot of talented players that are really not well known. And it's either going to be a success or it's going to be a bust. And I mean, so far it's pointing to the direction of success.
So it seems like you guys got a group of misfits, playing around. But, coming off of that big win, though, against, LA Galaxy and then, last week and still unbeaten, what's that say to, like, looking at the chemistry of the team? Like, how do you see everything starting to gel? Ty touched on a little bit about, like, St. Louis and their black magic that they had when they came in. But what is it that's unique about this team starting off the way that they are?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's something that we've asked head coach Mikey Varas too, right? And he said that the team quickly found an identity, and they've kind of stuck through that in the preseason, and now that the season started. Again, you got to remember, these guys have barely started playing together maybe 2 months ago. Like, before that, they had no idea of who they were. Like, they didn't know each other. And now they're, like, essentially a family, right? When you have a soccer team, you're a family. And I think they're all really bought into the system. Like, you have Chucky Lozano, who is He was created in one of the best academies in Mexico with Pachuca, and he said it himself, like, I'm a strong believer in what they're trying to build with this Right to Dream Academy, and he wanted to be a part of it. And I think a lot of it goes with the captain that they chose, Jeppe Sverskop, who he's from Denmark. Again, before SanDiego FC, never heard of the guy. Never in my life. And this guy comes in and is the captain and is the heart and soul of that midfield. And I don't even know if I'm even answering your question, to be honest. It's exciting that it's a bunch of nobodies playing here in San Diego, to be honest, but they're actually playing really good. Like, I'm actually surprised every time I see them. I'm like, dude, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss in this podcast or not, but I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, these guys are playing really good. And I don't know, to be honest, I don't even know if
fans.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to ask how the fans have taken to, having the team so far. It's so early in the season, but it feels like they have like a very large contingency of fans and everybody like quickly supporting. And I know, like you said, there's been a lot of local teams, just not necessarily on this level yet. And it seems like everyone's really taken to it very quickly.
Yeah, no. So I mean, don't get me wrong. You still have your diehard San Diego loyal fans still kind of hating in a way, right? Essentially, MLS came in and killed their club. That was very community based, and there's still some hard feelings on that. But something San Diego FC did very correctly in their first year that they were announced is targeting the community. They did the Chrome Ball tour, so they went to every city in San Diego and just did like a community event, a soccer tournament. They had concerts, they had celebrations of everything, vendors. So they did all those things right. And they definitely targeted the Mexican audience for sure, especially with the signing of Chucky Lozano. You're looking at it on paper, right? It's LAFC 2.0. Same CEO, Tom Penn. You get your Mexican DP signing, Chucky Lozano. LAFC had Carlos Vela. And then from there, you kind of start building the team. So it's kind of similar to what LAFC started a couple of years ago. But I think the Right to Dream Academy kind of takes it on a different gear as well.
Really quick, I think you touched on it before, but for those who don't know what the Right to Dream Academy is, can you just touch on that and how it has played such a factor in not only San Diego, but I believe former San Diego expansion draft pick or re-entry draft pick now playing for LAFC, Yao Yaboa, former Crew player, was also in that Right to Dream Academy. Just talk about how much impact it has on soccer, on the soccer community in itself.
Hey, Jerald, I'm just gonna say, when you mentioned coming into MLS, that's one of the things I had no idea. What the fuck is a right to refusal? Like the whole GAM and TAM and all these different things. I'm like, is this even?
We still don't know what some of that stuff is.
No. So you got the draft, super draft, re-entry draft. Like, I don't know what the fuck it's all about. But at the end of the day, soccer is soccer, and it's its own language. But yeah, the Right to Dream Academy. So what essentially this is typical academy, but something they do is that they house the players on their facilities and they give them the education, and they commit to these players even if they get injured or anything like that up until they graduate from school. So if they get an injury and they can't play anymore, they still commit to them to help them to get to a university, finish their career, anything like that, which is very special. Something different about the Right to Dream and SanDiego FC that no other MLS has the chance to do is, I think it's something about the distance within where your facility is or where you can scout. They're close enough to the border where they can also scout Mexican talent in Tijuana. So they held tryouts over there. So I know it was a little bit of a controversy within the MLS CEOs and whatnot saying, well, why does San Diego get to do that? But it was in the MLS rules. I think it's a 75 kilometer distance from your facilities to where you can, like a radius of where you can kind of like draft talent and scout talent. So there's a lot of possibly players that are going to be kind of coming from Tijuana to be in the Right to Dream Academy and potentially play in SanDiego FC in the future. But yeah, no, so I think they already have their academy. All the kids move in August over in the Sharp Performance Health Sports Center. I still can't remember the name of it. It's brand new, but it's an amazing facility. Like you see it and you're like, oh, wow, like that's what $500 million builds, right? So
transitioning to the game on Saturday. It is. We're both unbeaten, Columbus and San Diego. Playing in unfamiliar territory, right? Because Columbus, I've only ever played in LA, honestly. What is it about San Diego that I would say probably caused a problem for St. Louis that could cause a problem for the Crew? Is it the fans? Is it the atmosphere of the stadium? Is it the style of play? I feel like both teams kind of play a similar style, but different formations. But is it the Mikey Varas touch? Is it just first year magic? What is it?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things, right? You can throw in the fan base. I mean, having almost 35,000 fans supporting you definitely kind of adds that 12th player per se, right? But I think the style is very aggressive. I think it's something kind of different that MLS hasn't seen before. Like you said, it's very similar to Columbus, but you guys play with the 3-man center back line and then the full wing backs. So that's kind of like how St. Louis plays as well, and that San Diego FC didn't end up scoring against them, right? We had the whole Chucky Lozano injury happen, and that kind of threw everything off for them. But for this game in particular, I think something that is going to be interesting, and we're going to find out tomorrow because we'll get to go to training and do media availability, is the status of Patty McNair. He came off with an injury this last weekend for San Diego FC, and again, that's the issue with San Diego FC is they're a couple key injuries away. I'm sure almost every other team from being a pretty good team to being almost irrelevant, right? I mean, Patty McNair is one of the only few center backs they have. Andres Reyes is still not available to play. I mean, maybe by Saturday he might. You have Chris McVeigh as the other starting center back. If Patty McNair doesn't start and Andres Reyes isn't available, it's going to be MLS newbie Ian Pilcher starting at center back against Columbus. So you have a rookie there, and I mean, Columbus can definitely exploit that. But if he does play, then I mean, I predicted a San Diego FC win, a 2-1 win against Columbus, and I think San Diego can stay undefeated. But yeah, like obviously Mikey Varas is a coach that doesn't back down. He wants the 3 points. He doesn't park the bus, which is it's a breath of fresh air, to be honest. I'm so used to seeing coaches easily park the bus by the 80th minute if they're up 1-0. But he's not one of those coaches.
You mean the 70th minute?
70th, 60th, man. I've seen it the whole second half.
Caleb Porter.
That's exactly what he did.
I just lost my question. Touch on the. Can you touch about like? I know you said there's a mixture of things that could give the Crew a issue, but one of the things I looked at too is also the field. With it being, I believe, is in Snapdragon Stadium on a college campus.
Yeah, so Snapdragon Stadium belongs to San Diego State University, and priority is their football team. So there were field conditions last season for San Diego Wave. I mean, you had the San Diego men's soccer team playing. There you had San Diego State football. You had the San Diego Legion, the professional rugby team here in San Diego playing there as well. So that field was a complete disaster by the end of the season, to the point where San Diego Wave could not play their last regular season match at home, and they had to reschedule it to play at Orlando. That was a big topic of conversation. For some reason, San Diego FC CEO Tom Penn still calls it a soccer-specific stadium, even though it's not. It belongs to San Diego State, and it's a football stadium. But yeah, I mean, supposedly they put new grass there with new grow lights, and there's this specific type of grass they use now, and the field conditions shouldn't worry anyone. They're gonna lay down new grass in August. Like it's honestly, it's all talk right now until it's proven that it's going to stay healthy. As of now, the field condition is not as bad. But last season we saw them filling kind of potholes with a bunch of dirt, and there was a video that we saw that of a finger going into the dirt, and it was the whole size of an index finger, like covering the pothole there. So will it get to that point? I don't even know if MLS would allow San Diego FC to play in that field condition that bad. So I know San Diego FC is kind of throwing a lot of money to be able to fix that.
Is there any players that you feel like we should keep an eye on, like a dark horse player, somebody that if we're not familiar with the team as much, who has that ability to really take over a game?
All of them,
That
man.
number,
A lot of them are a bunch of nobody. I mean, you have Anders Dreyer, right? He's the second DP they
that
signed.
guy.
He already made a name for himself. I guess, I don't know where MLS comes out with all these stats, but he was the first MLS player in history to score 2 game-winning goals in the first 3 games of an expansion side. What does that even mean? Okay, cool. But he is a talented player. He's only 26 years old. He's very fast. He has a really good left shot. But I mean, I think you're familiar with Aníbal Godoy, center midfielders, played in MLS his whole career, captain of the Panamanian soccer team. This guy was kind of the unexpected hero for San Diego FC in that midfield. I mean, he's 35 years old. You would think he'd be kind of like a rotation player with experience, more of a locker room guy. This guy's playing the full 90 as a full-on box-to-box midfielder. I mean, along with Yepes Fresco. He's the captain. Everything goes through him. He knows where to put the long ball. He knows where to kind of pass it back. Those 2 guys are definitely going to make a name for themselves again in this midfield. And then, again, you have Luca de la Torre on that midfielder as well. San Diego kid that went to Europe to play, make a name for himself, playing in Celta Vigo, playing in the Premier League, comes back on loan from Celta Vigo now, and the dude's balling. Like, I think he's still on a time restraint. Like, he's only playing up to 60 minutes, but that could either be because he's running everywhere on the midfield or he's still kind of like not fully match fit. So we'll find out tomorrow if Chucky Lozano's available. I still don't think he will be. He kind of pulled the hammy, so he's probably out a couple weeks. And then you have Marcos Imbartzen. He's the striker. Barely got his first MLS goal this past weekend, late in the game. He's struggled a little bit, but he's definitely still like those European poacher type of strikers that can be deadly if given the chance.
Well, you just answered my question about Chucky Lozano, because I was going to ask him. I was going to ask about a status update for him. You just talked about the strengths of this team, right? So let's flip it. What are the weaknesses of this team?
Yeah, I think they're very stubborn. Like, something we've noticed in this last 3 games, that they're not going to change their play style whatsoever, even if it's not working. I'm a believer that a great head coach will get their team to understand that if the game plan's not working for this game, you kind of have to improvise a bit and change it up. They haven't shown that just yet. We got the cat toys over there, or the dog toys. But yeah, like, they're very stubborn with their play style. They're going to play it out through the middle. They're going to make mistakes. We saw it against in this last weekend against, who the heck did they even play? I'm blanking already. But they made a lot of mistakes, and they're kind of like starting to lose the ball points. I mean, they have a very young goalkeeper with CJ Dos Santos, who's only 24, 25 years old. So
was it Salt Lake?
It was Salt Lake. There you go. Yeah. How could I forget? Nate Miller, assistant coach there, head coach for San Diego Loyal. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of their weaknesses are going to be kind of like that same playing out the back and forcing the ball and being stubborn with it. That if Columbus can take advantage of those mistakes, then they can get a good upper hand on them.
So I got a 2-part question for you. The first one is, you talked about the strengths, the weaknesses. Now you talked about who Columbus should, pretty much worry about. What matchup are you looking to see out there on Saturday? Who from Columbus and San Diego are you looking to see matchup wise? And secondly, how has Kelvin Jones been as an assistant coach? Long time, Crew Academy director, coach, Crew 2 coach last year. Now joins, the bench there with the first team. What insight and what stuff have you seen him bring to that coaching staff?
I'm going to answer that second part first. And to be quite honest, we don't get a chance to talk to the assistant coaches too much. So, I mean, that thank you for giving me that question. I'll ask Mikey Varas tomorrow at training and say, hey, what insights is it bringing against Columbus, right? So I can't really answer that one just yet, because, I mean, I've never even asked him a single question. It's always Mikey Varas that they give us at media availabilities. But to answer that first question, I mean, I'm obviously looking at Diego Rossi. Like, dude, killed it at LAFC, then goes to Europe, comes back. Like, I'm sure he's been a very valuable player to the crew this season. But that's someone I'm trying to see if he can exploit the mistakes from the back line.
Where do you see the team? Like, what's kind of the expectations of everybody with a brand new team?
Yeah.
What do the fans and the media? What would you kind of judge as being a successful versus not successful season?
Personally, I would say a successful season is making playoffs, making sure that they kind of stay relevant. I was a strong believer, probably still am, that this is going to either be a very successful season for San Diego FC or a complete disaster. Like, it's either top 3 in the conference or bottom 2. There's no in between for them. They're either going to be really good, which they've played really good so far, or it's going to be like the laughing stock of the league. So that's kind of like where I see it. But to measure success, I mean, obviously San Diego is a town where they've never really seen success when it comes to sports. You have the Chargers that dipped out of San Diego a couple of years ago to LA, heartbreak for the city. You have the Padres, who just in MLB just continue to give heartbreak after heartbreak to their fans. And then when it comes to soccer, I mean, you really just had the USL Championship Club San Diego Loyal, who died in the best interest of MLS. So there's a lot of people rooting for this team, especially now. I mean, 3 weeks in, undefeated, like, eyebrows are starting to raise. People are starting to buy more tickets now. So I think a lot of fans have that expectation of, hey, like, win a trophy. Like, obviously it's your first year. It's hard. I don't even know if it's ever been done in MLS. So, I mean, I think if they make playoffs and they kind of make a run for it, they win their first playoff game and whatnot, I think that's successful.
Last question, and it is a-okay if you are biased on this question. I promise you. Prediction wise,
yeah.
What do you have?
Yeah, I got a 2-1 win for San Diego FC. This one, I think their midfield is legit. Like, yes, even if Patty McNair's injured, like, that could potentially cause some troubles. But Ian Pilcher, the minutes he's gotten, he's also been very solid. Like, yes, he's a kid, he's going to make mistakes, but I think that midfield carries them a lot, especially on the attacking front. So I think that's definitely going to be a factor for this game. So yeah, I got San Diego FC winning 2-1. I can see them scoring first, the crew tying it up, and then somehow pulling off another extra time winner or something. I don't know.
Fair enough. Thank you for taking the time. Oh, what a man! We haven't even gotten that far yet. To be honest, I probably see it as like a 2-2 draw, right? I think the performance against LAFC yesterday, yeah, we lost but won the game. I think honestly our Houston stalemate over last weekend was kind of the lowest point under Coach Wilfried Nancy that we've seen, in my opinion. Played much better from what I heard yesterday against LAFC, though we exited CONCACAF early. But I think with going to a new place, it's a new challenge, and it's a motivation from Tuesday that, hey, yeah, we don't have Cucho Hernandez, we don't have Christian Ramirez anymore. We still have a good core of players that helped us win 2023 MLS Cup that can get the job done against I don't even want to call you guys Cinderella because you guys aren't really Cinderella yet. Against a good side, but I think with how well San Diego is playing, that could also pose a threat to our 3 center back line. To the point where we might have to dig a late equalizer out like we did against Portland Timbers 2 years ago or last year or whatever. So I have 2-2 draw, which is fine with me. I don't know about these 2 guys over here. I don't know about them.
I was thinking 1-1, and at least from our side, probably like Russell Rowe's been playing really well. So if I had to choose someone, I would pick him to be the one to score. But coming off of kind of what we've been doing, and I don't know the mentality of if people can differentiate, like if players could differentiate necessarily, like playing in a tournament game and then flipping it back into a regular season game and then into a tournament game and then into regular season game. So for me, I feel like we're still kind of trying to build a little bit. And even beating LAFC, you knew how many goals they had to get in order to win. That wasn't just getting one or two. You had to keep it going against a team that, you know, is going to play a style that we have not played against as much. It will play a factor into it. I think they do have, you know, the cohesiveness to get a tie out of it, but that's about as far as I'm willing to go. And at this point, you know, I have confidence in them, but I still need to see it first before I'm just assuming they can go to a brand new environment with a new team and just go in there and, you know, perform how I think they have the ability to perform.
Yeah, that's fair.
3-0 Columbus.
All right, I love that. I love it. Honestly, sometimes I hope that happens. My co-host and I, we do predictions as well, and we have an ongoing bet for the whole season. So if we get the prediction, like the win, loss, or tie correctly, it's a point. If you guess the score correctly, it's another point. At the end of the season, whoever loses has to walk from our studio all the way to Snapdragon Stadium, dribbling a soccer ball. It's about 18 miles, about an 8-hour walk. So it's a big punishment for the loser. Back in the San Diego Loyal days, I would always beat Tony in predictions. But we have another guy in the podcast too. So I'm not too worried for myself, but I got the prediction. I got the win right last week. So
I'd be dead.
You said an 8-hour walk?
Yeah, it's like an 8-hour walk.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and if you want to carry the ball with your hands, you have to wear goalie gloves.
Oh,
and then you can pick it up and then you can walk. So it's a harsh punishment.
That is crazy work.
Yeah,
And there better be some type of alcohol sitting there at Snapdragon Stadium for me.
There'll be a couple beers for whoever has to get there. For Tony, probably, to be honest.
A couple, give me a 12.
We needed to like ride along in like a
golf cart
car or a golf cart, yeah, or something like that, and just tape the whole thing and like chop it up. I want to see the video.
It'll be hilarious if we make the punishment. If they say they do make playoffs and they get a home match. All right, for this home match, walk from the studio all the way to Snapdragon for the game.
Oh,
that is mental. That is crazy.
You really got to work to see the playoff game at that point.
Oh, you got to earn that playoff.
You're earning it, yeah.
Chiva, it's been an honor. First off, welcome to the league. And thanks for taking the time out of your day to do this. I know it's about 6 o'clock over there, right?
Yeah. Still pretty early.
For our listeners, supporters that don't know about where they can find you at, where can they find you and the podcast?
Yeah, we're on all social media, SanDiego.Futbol. Except X, it's SanDiego_Futbol. And then that's literally our website as well. You can just check it out, SanDiego.Futbol. You can find all of our articles there. I do match previews articles there, and my friend Abraham Cepeda writes post-match articles. And then you can check out all of our content there from YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, everything. Blue Sky as well. So if people still use it, yeah.
I just want to say this. Saturday is going to be a matchup between the first ever team in MLS and the 30th team in MLS.
That's fun.
I mean, it's historical, honestly. Like, to go from 9 teams to 30, in 30 years, you know, it just shows the growth in the states.
I don't even know if other leagues have anywhere near 30 teams in their league. I mean, maybe in the future there's relegation. That's a hope. I mean, obviously I'm still very new to the league, but I will always preach for relegation because some of these USL championship clubs are legit as well. So
I'm with you there. I would love promotion relegation.
That'd be fun.
But
yeah, that'd be very fun.
Thank you again for doing this. For any San Diego people, if you are watching on Twitter or anywhere like that, the whole segment will be posted separately onto our YouTube page. We'll be sure to tag the SanDiego.Futbol page, also on Twitter and everything like that. So people who missed it on live stream can go back and watch it. And thank you again for doing this. And go Crew. Sorry.
Thank you guys. You guys have a good night.
You too, man. Be safe.
Later.
So that was fun. He's nice people. Nice guy.
Welcome to the league.
Yeah. So before we get into our side of the matchup Saturday, I know Derik, you said you watched it.
Yeah, I watched both of the LA games.
Jerald, you were there. I was at Top Golf working. So as I said in our text message, I'll let you guys carry this. I'll pop in with some questions. But 2-1 win, however, a 4-2 loss on aggregate sees the Columbus Crew exit the Concacaf Champions Cup in the round of 16. Just have the floor, takeaways, whatever it is, because that was, from what I hear, they played really well, but just could not execute that third goal and hold a shutout to send it to extra time.
They had a third goal, but I'll get to that here in a little bit. But no, it really was night and day. They came out very aggressive on that front foot. Just they put the pressure on LAFC. And if you remember, Ty, when we first faced LAFC, I talked about one way to beat LAFC is to frustrate Bwanga. And that's exactly what they did. And I'm not gonna say it was the polo I was wearing, but the blue hey, hold on now. The blue camo polo that I had, I wore for MLS Cup in 23, and they beat LAFC 2-1. I wore it last night thinking it would, maybe put some, good vibes out there, maybe pull the, impossible is an opinion, and score four goals and, keep the clean sheet. So I'm like, okay, I'm aware of this, but when that whistle blew and they came out aggressive, and it just was like, okay, now I think everybody, the rust is pretty much shaken off. Let's go, right? And the wind was blowing too, so that was also a factor. But that first goal by Jason, and Diego doesn't get too much, doesn't get the enough credit like he did, he should, because that ball was going out. And for him to get to that spot and being able to knuckleball it back towards Jason with the wind blowing, which, was blowing the ball towards the south end of the stadium, right to Jason. And, everybody was in the box, and it just was like the Crew were getting, 5-6 players in that box. And it just, man, they were just for a long portion of that first half. They didn't. LAFC didn't come really too much. Didn't have too much possession across the midfield. Mm-hmm. They were causing LAFC to turn the ball over, and you could see Bwanga was frustrated. Abobasi was a little frustrated as well. It just, they played Nazi ball last night. I'm gonna say that.
I want to know, where was the blue polo last Tuesday night when we needed it?
It wasn't a home game.
Oh, fair point. Jerald and I were texting during that game, and we don't have to dwell too long on it, but two things stood out to me in that game. Was one, Diego felt like he was trying to do a little bit of hero ball, which we had seen, like, in my opinion, Lucas occasionally would do that. And sometimes it would get frustrating because he was trying to do everything when there were guys who were in position to send it to. And I get, like, in some cases, like he was warranted doing that for sure. But there were just times where he was just running into a congestion of people where I'm like, what? It was just after a while, you're like, what are you doing? Also, and this is more of a through line into something I noticed from last night's game was that, to me at least, AZ, like, it does not look prepared to be out there in that position, like at least not as a starter. In just my opinion, but it looked like he was like stopping at times when he should be attacking more, getting manhandled a little bit in the beginning, which I know like eventually you're trying to draw fouls when that happens too. But I just felt like he looked a little lost out there versus everybody else who may have been looking like they were at least trying to get into position a little bit more. So that definitely stood out to me. It felt like they were more cohesive though last night, coming off of that draw that we talked about against Houston, whereas against the first time around, I mean, I get, totally, like they flew from the East Coast to the West Coast. That's a huge, I just did that and am like still struggling with catching up from jet lag and things like that. But they seemed really unprepared in how they approached that game. The lineup was a little wonky, but you got to get guys rest. So like, that's not the end of the world. We're going to see that from time to time, but I don't like, we mentioned it earlier about the fan side of things and like everyone wants someone to get signed and all this. That first game, we could have had Cucho out there, and the way we were playing, I don't see a way how we would have won that game. Everyone just looks so congested. Like it just looked like, nobody knew like what position to be in, and maybe he would have made that type of difference or somebody would have, but to me, it didn't feel like that was going to be the case. Whereas last night, everybody felt like more, they knew where they were going to be and where they needed to be. And some of the shots just didn't go in. I mean, they had so many opportunities at that third goal, and their keeper was standing on his head a little bit with some of the shot or some of the stops. Some of the shots seem to be just be going errant different ways. I mean, some of that you can't do much of. Jerald, you said it was like windy. Like I stayed home and watched the game, but it was like at one point I thought, is there a tornado going on outside? It was so loud, the wind. So like that could have easily played a factor too, but it was good to see the effort that they put in, and coming off of that first, game against them, Houston, and now this, which gives me a little more, hope. But it's the same type of thing. I came out of it and it was just everyone online saying, well, we would have won if we had some, DP signing right now. But like, are we sure that was the case? Like, I'm not necessarily convinced that what I'm seeing that would have made the biggest difference. Not if it wasn't someone that we signed before the season, signing them between the beginning of the season and now certainly wouldn't even have gotten them incorporated enough probably to be comfortable in it. But I don't know. It's painful for me because that's the MLS Cup's always like the crown jewel in my mind of like championships I want to win.
Yep.
But that's the one I really wanted because of the whole Pachuca thing last year. So it was a major bummer to get out, but it does alleviate a little bit of the congestion now going through the season. So on like the positive side, trying to look at it, we don't have to worry about that. We can focus on getting better as a team and not having to do Tuesday, Saturday games in a row again, at least not for a while.
It was the wind with it being as windy as was. I had to ask to have the press box windows closed.
Oh yeah,
because I was getting cold.
Oh, they had them open?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a nice day for it.
It was, but starting to get towards halftime, that wind started killing me, and I'm like, yeah. Hey, can we get the windows closed? So, but I mean, no. To answer your to answer or touch on what you said about AZ, I don't think it's not necessarily being a starter. I think you got to find the right role for him. And to me, AZ is like a Derik Etienne for Columbus. It was hard. It was hard to find the right role for Derik. Derik was fast, and Derik had one angle, right? And Ty knows this. He had that straight, up the sideline, and then that quick cut in. That's it. with AZ, I think if you find that right role for him. Now he started in the midfield with Nagby. So I think that might be a start, getting a good pairing with him
Mm-hmm.
because Nagby can rub off on him, right? And you and me, Derek, we texted during the first LAFC game when Taha came in.
Mm-hmm.
Taha is a good player. I've watched him, in the, with the Crew Academy when he's went to the U.S. Youth National Team, Crew 2. And last night, Taha, he showed glimpses of what he showed there in, Crew 2 and in the Academy and the U.S. Youth National Team. But he was holding his own
Mm-hmm.
coming in for Nagby. With Larice and not Larice, but whatever the hell the guy's name is for their midfield, and a Obobasi before he came out, and even Bwanga, when Bwanga would cut through the middle, he was holding his own, and he was showing like you get him more playing time and he's gonna shine bright. And
that's the type of player too that comes on, and then we notice that they're making a difference, And I feel like there's been some players, and I don't have like a specific person to call out on that, but like there's been players that they've subbed on that it hasn't felt like it's really like galvanized by any means, or at least up the playing at all. Whereas Taha comes in, holds his own. We give up a late goal. I mean, that's just, sometimes that happens, but he was out there like showing that he belongs and not getting, either just lost in the chaos of the game sometimes, or manhandled in the midfield, or those types of things where you'd like to, that feels like getting him more playing time will be really beneficial. Maybe even as early as against SanDiego, where we don't, there's not like we may go into it with like, we don't really know what we're going to get. So let's give some guys some chances here a little bit more.
And I'll tell you another one that people, talk bad about all the time, Dylan Shambos. That man stepped up last night, and the way that he was making plays, the way that, his back heels, his his back heel passes, his line, some of his line breaking passes, some of the creativity that he was doing to start the attacks, some of his crosses. And Nancy has talked about how, he likes the progression that Shambos, has had, because, he can also play an 8. He can play a 6. He can play the 9. He can play a 10. So it's like he could play those positions, and he's starting to get comfortable. I asked him last night about, it seems like he's starting to get comfortable in Nancy's system. Like how does he feel that the coach, Nancy believes in him and that he can play, some of the midfield positions. And, he was saying how he feels more confident now. He came in halfway through the season, and, he was trying to build that confidence. Well, he's got a full off season with the team to build the chemistry, and he's starting to get his confidence. And it showed last night.
He looked way better, in my opinion, than that first game against LA too. Like he seemed like he was ready for that level of play, and yeah, I would agree. I thought he did a lot better, and has been growing, progressively, which is good. I mean, that's somebody who we talked about at the beginning of the season as someone that we thought could really make an impact. So to see him progressively getting better is a very good thing.
One more thing before we transition to our side of the preview for this weekend. I know, Derek, you said it. Now we don't have to worry about the scheduled congestion. It's about what 12, 15 more games off of our shoulders now, maybe, give or take. But what can the crew learn from this early exit? Because we still have Leagues Cup to play.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going on during the season. So we still are going to have midweek Saturday to play. So I guess the better question is it better for us to leave a tournament where we're playing midweek now than later and still play midweek later, but now we're focused mainly on Saturday games? Or should we have probably put our best foot forward to play midweek Saturday now and have an early exit in Leagues Cup?
I think now you have more time. I guess it depends on how you view it. Like, do you value the guys playing together during practice and stuff, getting some more of these concepts and things down when you have a younger roster from age and tenure on the team? Or do you value playing time out there against competition? I think if you asked a lot of coaches, they'd probably be relatively split or even say more so in the playing time. I tend to think with this team, it might benefit us more from just the practice standpoint. Also, I don't know. I'd be curious to know. We would never get like probably a full-fledged truthful answer, but like when we threw out the players that we did in LA, and some of them just weren't, there weren't starters. And then, I don't know, part of me was like, this early in the season, do we need to be resting guys, even if we do have this congestion, because everyone should relatively be pretty fit based upon preseason and all those things. But I think I would still feel more confident in it. I think back to years ago where you'd have these early tournaments and people would get hurt right away. Like you saw it all the time. I think Aiden Moore's blew out like his ACL or something, like quite literally the first or second game. It wasn't even the season yet. Like those types of things I don't love to see. And I can't remember if we even started this tournament this early last year or not. It didn't feel like it, but maybe we did.
Yeah, because we won MLS Cup.
Okay. So, yeah. And then there goes, some of that. You still had at least some guys on there who were still a bit on the team for a little bit and stuff. But I tend to think it's a good thing overall. I think they'll be more prepared for that later in the season than in the beginning of the season. And if right now we're focused on just what it seems like the team is, if they did bring somebody in, that it's probably not going to happen for, we only have till, what would we say it was, end of April? Not to say that can't happen, or whenever the windows all kind of close, but I would rather see them do whatever they.
April.
What's that?
I think it's the 23rd of April.
Okay, so there's time to do it, but having that time to get as high up as you can in the standings, because I think right now with some of the draws and stuff, like we should be focused on that. And there's other tournaments we can win. So it's like, to me, while I hate it because this is one I wanted to win, I think if I had to choose, I would rather have this off than the Leagues Cup, which we've won twice now, I think. Just one. What was the first thing that we won against it was like us when we were champions against the Mexican Campeones Cup. That's right. I
back
forgot
in
about that.
2021.
Okay. So completely forget that I said that part about it. But I don't know. I think that, in my opinion, it's just a better. You have more time. You can rest people. As much as I don't know that that's necessarily needs the thing, I think it helps them gel better through some of this adversity right off the bat too.
Are you waiting on me?
No, it's fine. We're waiting on Casper the Ghost to answer. He's gathering his thoughts right now.
Hey, no, I think it is. You know, as much as like I want the CCC as well. I think with trying to regroup after losing Cucho and Christian, you know, this is the best possible outcome. And not to mention, you know, our little sisters down in FC Kentucky, you know, got knocked out too. So that's a plus too. So
Beating Tigres in El Volcan is not for everybody.
no, there's only one team I know that could do that. But you know, and it's just like you're out of it now. You can focus on chemistry. You can focus on timing. You can focus on building that, strengthening your spot in the schedule, because we all know come the summer, you know, that's you want to be in certain spots in the standings. Because coming out of Leagues Cup, those schedules become brutal. You know, especially, you know, you're talking about you have the Club World Cup, you know, this summer. So I think MLS is taking off for that, if I'm not mistaken. Then you got Leagues Cup.
Sure.
Then you got, you know, the start of the after Leagues Cup, you got the start of the last half of the season. You know, and then you got the international window in the fall. You know, right there towards the end of the season. So I mean, it's just one of those, it's just like you want to be in a certain spot, but then now you get to that summer window, and you know, who knows who's going to come in. Not to mention during the with, you know, without the windows, we have the intra-league trading, you know, for straight cash. So there could be some, you know, some strikers. You know, there could be some strikers that come in, some center backs, some midfielders. Who knows?
And we do have some money to play with now that we, you know, conceivably maybe didn't before.
You know, close to $1 million. You know, but I mean, it's just one of those that you build on now, the here and now. Get to the summer, make some trades during, you know, before the summer, and then you go from there.
Moving on now to our side of the preview of San Diego this Saturday. I think we got a very good detailed description of how San Diego is. Now looking at Columbus, I feel like, and I said it before, I said it earlier, I feel like the positive things that I saw coming out of last night's matchup could translate to how we're going to play on Saturday in San Diego, right? I think the first question for you guys, I only have a couple, is how can I put this? Will our lack of, I don't even say goal scoring ability, because I mean, we've only had 2 goal scorers all season so far, right? Well, who actually, let's do this way. Who needs to step up heading into Saturday? Because San Diego has he listed off 5 players that are contributing.
Yeah.
And we have 2. So who needs to step up?
I think somebody who played really well last night, in my opinion, and I kind of got on his case slightly a few weeks ago, was Farsi. I thought he played a lot better. Didn't seem to be rattled at all. I would like to see him get into position to score. Not to say, I mean, it's not like the expectation is necessarily for him to score a ton of goals or anything, but I think that there's potential there for that. We talked about Chambos. I mean, that'd be great. I mean, he's always right in there. I mean, he's close enough, right in there. Just ripping a few shots here or there would certainly go a long way. I don't know. I got to be honest. A few times, and I think both of you kind of mentioned that you thought that Nagby may push up more this year. There were a few times last night where I thought he was going to rock it. Like, I think he tried once or twice, but like, I feel like we're getting closer to him just being like, I'm gonna take this over. Like, this is enough of playing around here. I'm going to rocket one of these in here and really change the dynamic of this game. So I don't think he necessarily stepping up, I guess, in terms of like firing a few of those in there. But overall, I mean, I've liked the kind of a bit more of an offensive dynamic from him overall.
Yeah.
Real quick about Nagby, I asked him about some of his chances last night. He took one chance, but there was like two other ones that he didn't. And I asked him, what went through his head to the reason that he gave up those shots, and he said to get a higher percentage chance shot. So
fair enough.
Yeah,
he's thinking about it. That's good.
To me, who needs to step up more and to call, not really, well, step up a little more, but needs to settle down is Max.
I hear that a lot.
Max needs to settle down and take more chances, because his first touch, he wants to try to shake you. When there was some chances that if he would have first touch, boom, fire. It could go in. And I hate to say it, I love the kid and all that. He's proven himself, but Sean needs to step up a little more. He's gotten bodied a little bit in the Chicago game in the midfield, a little bit in the Houston one. They put him back there for center back, which they had Amundsen, start on the left, Moreira on the right till he got hurt. They brought Yevon in and put Yevon in on the right, and Sean stayed right there in the middle. So, he excelled, and I tell you what, he put Bouanga in his pocket until that late goal. But that late goal, you had Schulte all the way up to damn near midfield, or running back from the other side because he was up there for the cross, the corner, and running back to get back into position. But you can't stop that when your keeper's all the way up by midfield and trying to race back to stop Bouanga. But he put Bouanga in his hip pocket and, kept him on lock when Steven went out.
Do we know what the status is of Steven? No.
We asked. Well, it was asked last night.
I already know who asked it. So, do we have media availability this week, by the way?
Thursday.
What time? So tomorrow.
Yeah, I believe 1:30 maybe. I don't know. I gotta look it.
Oh my god, I won't be able to make it. Okay, cool.
Hold on. I can find out.
Send it to me if you can. Really quick, just a key to the game. How can the Crew get 3 points in unfamiliar territory?
No hero ball. Everybody playing as one unit. Shouldn't be that hard, but and I think it sounds to me, based upon our friend from San Diego, who was kind of given the rundown of everything, is you have to frustrate them. I didn't say it during it, but the way he was describing how they sometimes will get really stuck in their ways, and if it's not working, they do not change. Is it very Caleb Porter like?
Oh my god, yeah.
And every time that teams were playing us, they were willing to make adjustments and continue to just frustrate them to the point of sometimes we would make really dumb penalties and things like that. I think even if you're not at full-fledged offensive, firepower in terms of just how you're playing, going into the game. I think if you can find ways, and we do have if we just keep possession of the ball sometimes and do the back and forth, bouncing it around, really frustrating them by trying to go side to side on the field, I think eventually you might be able to get some goals in because you just start frustrating them or they make fouls, as long as there's no like parking the bus scenario. I think that you could do that and probably at least get some goals.
Oh, it's at 9:30 in the morning. Ooh, maybe I could do that and stay there and do my interview with Brian Dunseth. Jerald, what about you?
Just play. You get back to playing Nazi ball. Shake the first, the second and third performance of the season off. Shake that off. And get back to playing Nazi ball. What?
And confident.
Wait, what time is the game Saturday?
I do not know offhand. We should know this.
I just closed the whole thing. The game on Saturday is 10:30 p.m.
Why does this media advisory say 8:30?
That'd be a 5:30 start their time.
Yeah, that'd
be a weird time to start, unless it's on TV. But I don't think it's on TV, is it? Or not like regular cable?
No, it says Eastern on here. So,
Rob,
it was probably Esteban. Or Nate.
So, I think for us to get 3 points, I think we just need to I feel like we're panicking when we play because we don't have Cucho and Christian, right? So they're still trying to figure out, hey, who's going to drop into this space to give me an outlet pass, right? Who's going to make this run? Who's going to make this run? Because when we had Cucho and Christian, they were always one step ahead of everybody, right? So now it's like, oh, shit. Now we have to think 2 steps ahead and not be caught flat-footed like they did it, like they were against Houston. So I think just being able to the soccer IQ needs to be upped a little bit, right? And then especially as Chiva said, just exploiting like those tiny things that San Diego could do wrong, right? Just capitalizing on mistakes, capitalizing on players being out of position, and everything like that. So I fully think that we could get 3 points. I don't see it happening. I'd probably say a point at best, like I said earlier. But that's just how I feel like if we wanted to get 3 points, I think all three of us have just put out a good ass game plan for Saturday, which I really wish I could implement on FIFA 25, but San Diego's not in the game yet. So, any final thoughts before we close out?
No.
Just win.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just win, please.
Sound like a Jets fan.
I just want all of the crew fandom to all be happy.
That ain't never gonna happen.
I know. Once the season starts, it's like 9 to 10 months of unhappiness for one reason or another. But winning cures all.
Yeah, and we won 2 games and people still are fucking complaining
right
about Jesus Christ. That's why I said y'all are bitter. Go home, get some alcohol, enjoy the day, relax a little bit. And
We're early. We're very early in the season. It's not
Right.
time to panic.
I'll tell you when they started to panic. They started to panic when about probably an hour before Batiste announced Cucho.
The panic has been a fever pitch since, no matter the outcome.
Oh my God. And it's only going to get worse because I get a mention every day from somebody on Twitter. Hey, have there been any rumors about signings? Hey, is the crew going to do this? Crew going to do that? No. Leave me alone, please. I'm trying to work. I'm trying to play video games. Leave me alone. Golly. Other than that, Derik, I'm glad you had fun in Vegas.
Hopefully I'll be recovered by next week.
You're good. You're good. Jerald, my friend, it's always a pleasure having you. Again, started with 2 and now we got 3, man. Look at that. We're growing. We're growing.
Or next year.
Man, that'd be too much. I wouldn't know what to do. Again, I want to thank you guys for tuning.
We win MLS Cup and get a 4-star. We have to get a 4th host.
Oh,
that's absolutely crazy. Because then if we go, we got to get 5 and 6, and then it's going to be
We stop. We're not building a starting 11.
It's going to be a 4-hour fucking podcast next.
Look, we don't have the funds yet to put all 11 on the screen at one time with StreamYard. Okay. But if y'all would like to donate to the show, we have a supporters link that you can find in our link tree in our bio.
That part too.
And sponsors, if you'd like to sponsor us and be a part of our show.
Listen, we'll drink any kind of liquids or eat any kind of food you want us to on here. We will. I will do it. I'll do it.
I will too. This guy. Thank y'all for tuning in to the podcast. It's been a pleasure as always. You guys can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeart, Pocket Cast, Overcast. You guys can watch us on YouTube, Spotify, Goals TV. You guys can also follow us on social media on Instagram at the Wisemen Say Podcast and on YouTube, the Wisemen Say Podcast. You guys can follow us on Twitter or X at Wiseman Pod. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Fisher Tyler __. You guys can follow Jerald on Twitter
at Jerald _Lucas 96.
And you guys can follow Derik
at Funky Moses 17.
And we again thank y'all for supporting the show. Again, we are approximately 18 subscribers away from 100. Once we hit that 100 threshold, we will be doing a giveaway of a piece of merchandise from our merch store, which will be linked in the description below here on YouTube and in our descriptions everywhere else on all platforms. Thank y'all again. Much love. John, my friend, as tradition goes, Wisemen say,
only fools rush in.
Peace out, everybody. Have a good week. Stay safe, stay hydrated, stay cool. Hug your loved ones. Go Crew.
Go Crew.
Stay wise, y'all.
Babushka.